الله صل رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين، العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد، حبيب إله العالمين أبا القاسم محمد. وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، أرواحنا لتراب مقدمه الفداء. أما بعد، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون، فمن يتولى الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا فإن حزب الله هم الغالبون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we come from the days of mourning of the Shahada of our Master, Sayyid al-Muttaqina wal-Wasiyina, Amir al-Mu'mineen, we are reminded of the wonderful Quranic legacy that has been paved by this holy man, and at the same time need to examine further in order to rejuvenate and refreshen our epistemology and theology. Because as followers of the Ahlul-bayt, in the aftermath of the assassination of our Imam, we need to reflect on the legacy of that Imam. What exactly did he die doing? What exactly was his dying wish? And how exactly, by leaving behind these wills, did the Imam alayhi salam pave the way for a future and an ummah that was an intellectual one, as he was the king of intellectuality and as the Quran is an intellectual miracle. Oftentimes, when we cite the verses of the Holy Quran that infer Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, we may conclude them to the verse of Mubahila perhaps, whereby God makes mention, قُلْ تَعَالُوا نَدْعُوا أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ. That say, call upon your women, your children, our children, then ourselves. And we become very proud to hear that Imam Ali has now been promoted to the status of the self of the Holy Messenger of God. But that is only a speck in the realm that is Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. There is a work by Ibn Abi al-Hadid, who is the famous examiner of Nahj al-Balagha. He was a Mu'tazili non-Shia scholar. When examining Nahj al-Balagha, the Shia material, which is unique because you had a non-Shia examine a Shia main textual literacy on the legacy of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, Nahj. He makes reference that this man is unique in a few ways, where that it's not just these direct ayat, he's the nafs of the Prophet. You might see ayat, for example, min al-mu'minina rijalun. It's not just that. It's every ayah of the Holy Quran that begins, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, is always referencing him. Because Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen never once came in a position where he did not have iman in his life. He, as he himself alayhi salam says, that I prayed with the Messenger of God before prayer became incumbent upon all of you. When the Holy Messenger of God began Salah in Mecca, he didn't publicly speak about Salah until, because Salah is what? Salah comes after Usul ad-Din. He never spoke about Salah until he established Tawheed to the society. because people were drenched in polytheism. So I can't tell them pray to one God when they still have multiple other gods. So in the time being, while the messenger of God was still in Mecca, for those 13 years, Imam Amir al-Mu'minin, the messenger, still prayed. So he says, I was the one who prayed before Salah was prescribed by about 7 years before it was made incumbent upon you. So Imam Amir al-Mu'minin precedes all Muslims, him and the early Muslims at the time, be them Sayyidah Khadija and even be them Abu Talib alayhim salam ajma'in. But likewise, every ayah that says لَذِينَ آمَنُوا is directly referencing him. Now we get to a point that the Imam's dying purpose is revolving around wilayah. Wilayah here, oftentimes you see it thrown around. This term, this verb, this text, what could it mean? You often see translations such as guardianship. I have even personally seen, I don't want to say where because it's a beautiful place genuinely, but they mistranslated the term wilayah under one of the beautiful, beautiful paintings of Eid al-Ghadir displayed in a museum in one of the countries in the Middle East. And they wrote the wilayah of Ali in Arabic, and underneath it they wrote, translating it, the province of Imam Ali. Province in Arabic can translate into wilayah, like the province of Basra, the Najaf province. It means district and area. And oftentimes you refer to that by saying wilayat al-Najaf or al-wilayat al-Muttahida al-Amrikiyya. Wilayat mean the multiple states in America. So they had misunderstood it. Why? Because even the term wilaya is very ambiguous. Could it mean the state of something? It can have that meaning. Can it mean the guardianship of something? It can have that meaning. But the funny thing is, the Quran gave you its meaning clearly. With the verse that we referenced in the very beginning. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. That surely and indeed, 5:55 in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Ayah 55. Surely indeed, innama has an emphasis that the term inna does not. That's why the Quran is an intellectual miracle. Because you will find textual wonders by just observing why Allah speaks in one emphasis versus the other. So when he says innama, it's called adatu hasrin. He is making the term munhasira, very emphasized. That surely innama waliyukum, your wali. Now, your wali is a pronoun. The state of wali is a pronoun of the noun wilaya. So now someone is being called the wali. What does waliyukum mean though? Innama waliyukum, surely your wali is Allah. If you open the Yusuf Ali translation, you'll find surely your ally. If you open قُلِ قَرَاءَتِي, you'll find other translations. قُلِ قَرَاءَتِي by the Shia translation of the Holy Quran. There are many, many, but the English will not do justice to it here. Because wilaya does not have one meaning. It means guardian, but in Islamic theology, it means khalifa as well. Khalifa doesn't mean just a person sitting on a chair calling the shots from the far. It means God-ordained divine leadership. And this is not because we want it to. It is the Quran. We use a metric in life, and I always implore all of us to use this metric. Take it from the Quran. If you can't find it anywhere else, leave it. Because God would have known to mention it in the Quran. Everything we practice can be found in the Quran, by the way. Every single thing. Even if you think, well, that might be too different than to be seen in the Holy Book. No, you can find it. The Quran is the source of your life. If it's the source of your life, then life will be mentioned in there. If it's azaa, brothers and sisters, I promise you can find azaa in the Holy Quran. If it's the sha'a'ir of azaa, like the mourning, you can find it in the Holy Quran. But you need to open with a thought and an eye of intellectuality. Because as we said, the Quran is an intellectual miracle. Given that, the Quran al-Kareem explains to us very clearly that the term wilaya here used the Quran itself to explain itself, for goodness sake. It has the following meaning. It can mean khalifa, it can mean authority, it can mean guardianship, it can even mean ally. But you found when Allah was referencing Prophet Adam, He already told you what the term khalifa means. That, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون. That when your Lord then announced to the angels, they received an announcement by God. God assembled the angels and He announced, I will bring down to the earth a Khalifa. Meaning, according to Allah, the term Khalifa is God-given. God chooses khulafa. Khilafah cannot come from down up. You don't choose who's God's representative. Khilafah does not come from down up. Rather, it comes from up, down. And even if you look at the term, the etymology, etymologically, from the term khalf. Khalf, what does that mean? If I'm discussing north, south, east, west, directions, in the Arabic, of course, I'm not saying, hey, انظر amami. Amami means in front. Amam, like the imam that's leading salah, he's always in front of you. The person at the back is what relative to you if he's behind you? Khalfak. Khalifatak. He is behind you. So the term khalifa, does it have a reference in what comes behind? No. It's who you left behind. Who you leave behind as a successor. Behind you. That they take upon your reins and lead after you leave. The etymology, combine it with the Quran, so it's who you leave behind, successorship, and who God has decided as well. Suddenly we now have an understanding of the term Khalifa. One part of the term wilaya is Khilafah. One part. A wali is not just someone that's the Khalifa. No, there's more to it. But now you have the compounding meaning of the term wilaya. God then said, because God is not your Khalifa, but God says, إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهِ. But a wali can be a Khalifa, but God is not a Khalifa. God chooses who He leaves as khulafa. So now the term wilaya has something else. It has God-centricism inside it. Sure, God picked the person, but God needs to be the one that infuses within the person a quality similar to that of God. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Of course, but like how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses rahmah and kataba ala nafsihi al-adil wal-rahmah. Allah has prescribed and written that He will be adil. That He, وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ, His mercy encompasses everything, and He wrote upon Himself, mercy, you are also merciful. Your mercy is not like the mercy of God, because لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. But Allah will bless you with that grace that is in similitude to the sifat, not the that. Sifat are the qualities. The that of Allah is the essence. You can never get the that of Allah. That's Rabb al-Alameen. The closest to get there was His Ahlul-bayt, the Prophet and the Messenger and his family. But the sifat are the qualities. I need you to be a muntaqim to the zalim. I need you to be a jami' to the community. I need you to be a ghafurun, in a manner where you forget of others, like Allah's ghaffar. These are sifat, you can have them. So this doesn't counsel and make contradictive the quality of He is no one in similitude to. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٍ لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. But the term wali, God says, I am a wali. There are only 3 other categories in total. I, God. Then His messenger. Only the messenger, not وَنَبِيُّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. His Rasul, His messenger, is your wali as well. Now we had established the term wali, wilaya, is found with the terminology khilafah. But every wali is not a khalifa. But every khalifa is a wali. There you go. Every khalifa is a wali, because in Islamic theology, in order to become a khalifa of Allah, you have to be a waliyun min awliya of Allah, meaning God has to choose you. Khilafah comes from up, down. God said to the angels, I will bring on the earth a khalifa. They even contested. The malaika said, no God, no. Are you going to bring down on the earth someone who will spill blood and spread corruption? While and they gave Allah an alternative. And I always like to think about the angels as very easygoing. They like to have those halos and they're sweet. Here they're like, no, wait a second. Why would you make a human being your khalifa? While giving Allah an alternative. While we نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ, we praise you in thanks. From how much we thank you, Ya Allah. We're basically doing tasbih. We say shukrulillah, shukrulillah, shukrulillah. That's why doing tasbih and saying shukrulillah is an angelic sunnah. Do that as much as you can. You synchronize with the angels. But while we praise you in thanks and we sanctify you, وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ, you are muqaddas to us. What did God say to them? I know what you don't know. Don't worry about it. إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. This is going to be a different. The next ayah says what? وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. God created Adam and he had made it clear, I choose the Khalifa. Now here you have a wali though, is different. إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهِ in Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 55. God is not your Khalifa. So the term wali here is more broad than the term Khilafah. So that's the distinction we had to make earlier. He says, I'm your, then his messenger, وَرَسُولُهُ. And that's obvious, because God, by saying I am your friend, is not a clear, what, translation. We have an ayah of the Holy Quran that says, for example, in Surah Al-Ma'idah itself, ayah 51, if the guys can show me. Ayah 51, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّخِذُوا الْيَهُودَ وَالنَّصَارَى أَوْلِيَاءَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. O you who believe, do not take the Jews and the Christians. Is that accurate? Do not take the Jews and the Christians as awliya. وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. And whoever takes them as awliya, what do you have the translation as? What do you read it as? Allies? Allies? You know? Friends? Ha, friends. We can't take Jews and Christians as friends. Ha. I thought Allah said in another ayah of the Holy Quran, وَلِتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. Allah, you will find the closest to you in mawaddah. Not even hub, mawaddah. You know the ayah, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. I need you to really love my Ahlul-bayt. In that ayah that we just referenced, God says you will find the closest to you in mawaddah. How much they similar to you in love. That's amazing. Who? Are the ones that say we are Nasara, Christians. Why? ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ قِصِّيصِينَ وَرُهْبَانًا وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. Because among them are monks and priests, and they do not become arrogant. Have you seen the Pope when he visited Sayyid al-Sistani? How much pride is showed us, and that there was finally a meeting between two figures who are well respected, one humble, the other one much more humble, but one still humble at the same time, one sitting on his throne back in the Vatican, and the other sitting on his rented bench in Najaf al-Ashraf, but at the same time has showed enough humility to go down and visit the man in an impromptu visit. You will find these people are closest to you in mawaddah. Then, the ayah that we cited, 551, says, O you who believe, don't take the Jews and Christians as friends. So is the Quran contradicting itself, or is there a translation error? That's the thing. Because how are you telling me here that they're closest to me in mawaddah, but don't be their friends, hate them, hate them. Something's wrong here. Something's off. Because you can take Christians and Jews as friends. The Quran has showed you, bro, they're the closest to you in mawaddah. How are you not going to be friends with them? By the way, being friends with non-Muslims is allowed shar'an. In the non-Shia school, you can't be friends with non-Muslims unless you're doing it to make them Muslim. In the school of Ahlul-bayt, that is a priority. You can be friends to encourage them to Islam. At the end of the day, if you're friends with someone, don't you want the best for them? Don't you want them not to live a life of cognitive dissonance, where they may believe that God died maybe, or things of that nature? You want the best for them, and you tell them and remind them, but the goal is to guide yourself. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, first. قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ. Oh, you who believe, protect yourself, then your families. There's a problem with people trying to preach to others when they have to first preach to the guy in the mirror. They have to look at that guy in the mirror and say, Habibi, first walk the walk. Practice what you preach. Don't impose on others what you are not taking into consideration yourself. قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, shield yourself and then your families from the flames of which comprise themselves of rocks and stones and other people. This is an idiom to remind them to not violate the sanctity of Allah and go astray. So now we conclude that the term wali cannot mean friend. It does have that as a possible meaning. But in the Quran, if the word wali is a friend, there's an issue here. So what does the term mean? Number one, in reference to the ayah referencing earlier, 551. All you who believe, do not take the Jews and Christians as friends. Don't take them as authorities. 551. 555, a number of ayat later, tells you the alternative as to who you can take an authority. Innama, but surely, rather. Innama waliyukumullah. Take Allah as what? Your friend? Okay, first of all, how can I take Allah as a friend? I can communicate with the Lord as much as I communicate with my friend. That's a good habit to have. But a friend, Allah is bigger. He's your khaliq. He's your raziq. He's closer to you than your own nafs is, because He is the orchestrator of that nafs, and closer to you than your own jugular vein. But it's not friend here. And it's not ally. It's the guardian authority. But then even that is more comprehensive than meets the eye. He is your divine authority. Because what happened? In Medina al-Munawwara, the Messenger of God was confronted with a number of interesting situations whereby Muslims, because they were outnumbered, early Muslims were outnumbered, then the Medinians, who were also non-Muslims, there were multiple Jewish tribes and multiple Christian tribes, and you had still multiple non-Abrahamic tribes. There were people that were Sabians, and there were people that were, because they're mentioned in the Quran, was-Sabi'ina wa-Nasara, Sabians. And you had also polytheists, a small number of them. Medina was a bit more clean than Mecca, religiously and demographically speaking. So the Muslims were outnumbered. What did they do? Some of them felt inferior. And a man by the name of Abdullah bin Salul felt that, you know what I can do? Team Islam, stay on that side of Medina. I'm a Muslim. I'm going to go with team the Christians and the Jews. I will go live with them, and I will live by their code of life. Islam, when you get your act together, I'm with you, but I will come out fully supporting you. The wars I won't participate in. The khums I'm not going to pay. The zakat is not going to happen right now until you establish yourself, until things get. By the way, this is a bandwagon kind of attitude. I know some people like to support their teams like that, where it's like when we're doing well, yeah, pro whatever, Florida State, I don't know. When you start losing, can you still vocalize your support? That's when you're little, when you won't have much accomplished. Don't go and change teams and switch up on us, buddy. Stay firm to your loyalty here. Don't do that. You started here, you stay here. Otherwise, we're not a joke. Take the sport analogy out of the way. Take it back to religion and be serious here for once. You don't take this deen as a joke. Be a Muslim, be a Muslim. But don't do one thing 50% of the way, especially if it relates to your life and your religiosity. If you do anything, Rasulullah says that anything a Muslim does, ahsana, he does it 100%. If you're going to become a doctor, don't be a silly doctor, be a full doctor. If you're going to start a business, why do it short? Go all the way. Establish yourself. There's only, like that one guy in a humorous manner says, only one way, only one thing. You should never give 100% in life. And it's like, that's donating blood. You didn't get it. But in that case, you should always give 100%. Only in some aspects here. Because a Muslim, if they do anything, give one day the Messenger of God saw a casket being carried, and it was a wooden casket. As the casket was passing by the Messenger, he paused for a moment. He saw that a splinter of the wood was sticking out as such. The Messenger came close, and he licked his blessed finger, and he put it back together like that. They questioned him later. That was not something that held any significance. It's going to be put into the earth anyways. So what was the point of that, Ya Rasulullah? He said, you spent time constructing this, and the man will be buried with it. If a Muslim does anything, they do it 100% of the way. Fulfill what you do. In this situation, you found a man by the name of Abdullah bin Salul. He's like, Muslims are not a significant presence in the community. They're very weak. I will side with the Jews and Christians, take them as my authorities. So Allah revealed this ayah of the Holy Quran. Oh, you who believe, don't take the Jews and the Christians as your, not friends. Again, that would have contradicted the ayah, as we said earlier. Take them as the closest in love, for example, for they are not arrogant. Rather, as authorities religiously. Why would you take them as authorities? Some might say, what do you mean authority? My boss is a Jew. My boss is a Christian. My manager is non-Muslim. I have to take them as my authority. Don't take anyone as an authority when Rasulullah is living in the same city as you. He is your authority. Then God says, 555, 3 ayat later, إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. It made sense when I got to Allah, obviously. It's common sense when it gets to Rasulullah. Then there's a third category of people, and those who believe. Now, is God ma'soom? Yes. Is Rasulullah ma'soom? Yes. Are they now awliya upon me? Yes. Then the third category must be ma'soom. Because it would be irrelevant for Allah to give you two ma'soomeen and tell you, see them as an authority, and here's this non-ma'soom just like you who flaws and has errors and sins, but he is meant to be seen like the ma'soom God is and his messenger. That's contradictive. That doesn't synchronize. In fact, that's counterintuitive, and it's almost cognitive dissonance-esque. It's a yes and a no. This one makes mistakes, take them as pure and perfect. This two don't make mistakes and they are pure and perfect, take them as your examples. But there's a contradiction here. There's a conflict here. Therefore, if God is ma'soom and the messenger is ma'soom, then these third category of whoever has to be ma'soom. Otherwise, you're sleeping with God and his messenger. إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Some might say, if you're going to keep insisting, this is Ali ibn Abi Talib, then why did the ayah refer to the plural? Because what is the common non-Muslim, some might agree though, the common non-Shia narrative of what this ayah means? It means those who are the khulafa in charge after Rasulullah, irrelevant of who they are. Because there's this idea, the hakim should never be someone you protest against. This is an idea in the non-Shia worldview, that it is haram to be disobedient to whoever the ruler is. From Banu Umayyah to Banu Abbas to even today. And I even remember seeing an interview done by a Syrian extremist mufti. He said, they asked him, you know there's this hadith that we all Muslims accept. Don't die until you have allegiance to the imam of your time. The hadith is narrated on our side and their side. In their side, it's a bit different. من مات ولم يعرف إمام زمانه مات ميتة جاهلية. It's easy. Whoever dies and doesn't know the imam of their time dies 100 years of the days of ignorance. Jahiliyyah. You know the days they would bury babies alive, right? And they found it normal. There is a hadith in the non-Shia world. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Hadith in the non-Shia world that has a similar manner. It's found in the Sihah material. من مات وليس على عنقه بيعة مات ميتة جاهلية. Whoever dies and doesn't have on his neck allegiance pledged. Allegiance pledged, then they die the days of ignorance, the 100 years of that. They say this is not in reference to any ma'soom, anything. It's whoever is the hakim and you don't pledge allegiance to him. The mufti, non-Shia extremist, I remember in 2004, he was giving this interview. You can actually watch it on YouTube. They asked him, and who's the imam of your time? He said, first, and who's the hakim? Who's the leader? He said, first we have to establish what is the hakim, so that I have to have bay'ah on my neck for him. The hakim is whoever is the most supreme authority in the world. So he's like, who's the most supreme authority in the world? Could it be the king of the Arabian Peninsula at the time? He's like, no, not him. He's not the most supreme. You know who he actually said? He said George Bush. Because he is the most supreme, whatever, powerful, powerhouse individual. He's at the head of it. And so he calls all the shots. And so for him, to me, he fits the category. Ya goodness sake of mine. If you come to that level, I've seen others say, la, the condition is, some have made it clear, you have to be Muslim though. So some have said it's a king in the Arabian Peninsula. Some say it's the current king, others might say it's the previous king, irrespective, because this is a Muslim at the end of the day. But they're the most powerful. I've heard someone say, and I watched these interviews, they're very hilarious. It's, I don't know, alhamdulillah there's no Hajj there, Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey. Erdogan, the Prime Minister of Turkey, he's a Muslim. He's very powerful, I guess, in relatively the geopolitical world. So he's the hakim of my time. Ya akhi, for goodness bloody sake. He's the ayah in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ, alongside God and His Messenger. How do you sleep at night comfortable with that? You do? George Bush, Imam Zaman, wake up. Wake up. Because if you're going to sleep, I don't know how you're going to sleep like that. If you're asleep, you're not. You're faking the sleep. Wake up. You're already awake, so stop faking the sleep. Because I know you don't go to sleep comfortable like that. Knowing that alongside Rasul al-Rahmati wa Imam al-Huda wa Rahmatan lil-Alameen, you put fallible people, rather open any tafsir of the Holy Quran. Any tafsir. Tafsir Ibn Kathir, while it mentions this previous hadith, whoever's the hakim at the time, it also mentions the sabab al-nuzul, the reason for why it was revealed. He says, he and all tafsirs, every single one, Al-Qummi, Al-Amthal, Mizan, all of them, Tibyan, Majma' al-Bayan, Fakhr al-Din al-Razi, Mafatih al-Ghayb, all of them, Sunni Shia, say, نزلت هذه الآية في حق علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. That one day he was praying in the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, in the middle of his salah, in the middle of his prayer, and Ali was praying a mustahab prayer here because he was being observed by Muslims. They would be praying behind him. So he was just standing and he loved salah. In the middle of his prayer, a beggar enters the masjid and he says, I am a faqir and a maskeen. A'inuni a'anakumullah. Help me, God will help you. The narrators of the hadith say, well, we didn't have anything to give the man. We're in the masjid right now. It's sad because sometimes, people leave all their wealth at home. When you come to the masjid, take some, throw in the sadaqah. Take some in support. Take some in the sponsorship. I don't know where it went. But take and help. The masjid lillah. إنما المساجد لله. Okay, they're for Allah, just there. But these guys are like, we don't have anything on us. Sorry, buddy. The man who's praying communicated by gesturing with a finger. And he extended his finger when he was in the state of rak'ah. Now here's something beautiful. How long when we pray here, how long does it take you to do ruku'? It doesn't take you more than maybe 10 to 15 seconds. Subhana rabbiyal azim wa bihamdah. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahu Akbar. Sami'allahu liman hamidah. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib's ruku', bowing down, took him a few minutes. How is that the case? Imam Ali says that salah has 3,000 extra mustahab portions to it. It has a certain amount of wajib. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen would do 3,000 of the mustahab in his prayer. Hence, Imam Ali's salah would take some time. It would take long. Why? He loved salah. He would never skip the qunut. In every sajda, he would say, Ya waliya al-afiyah, as'aluka al-afiyah, afiyat al-deen wal-dunya wal-akhirah, bi-Muhammadin wa-'itratihi al-tahira, Ya latif. He would always say these. Not in the last, by the way, sajda. Every single sujood he would do it. He never skipped a mustahab. We keep it at Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Surah Al-Ikhlas. Imam Ali would use the long surahs. He loved praying and using every single opportunity to get closer to Allah. In his rak'ah, he's able to gesture like this. The ring is worn and it's mustahab to wear on the right. This is from the alamat of the mu'mineen. I know many people like to belittle this, like, ring left hand, right hand. But at the end of the day, we follow the sunnah. The Prophet said, right. من علامات المؤمن 5. الجهر ببسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، تعفير الجبين، زيارة الأربعين، صلاة 51, and التختم باليمين. These are the signs of the Muslim. So we would wear just to follow them. Imam, as he's in his rak'ah, does this, begins to signal with his holy finger. The man gets the memo. I'm in need, help me. Imam Ali does this, grab it. And he sees, and the message is clear, while he's saying his tasbihat, the man grabs from the ring of the finger of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, alayhi salam, all the companions witnessed this. Suddenly the ayat were revealed. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. Allah loved this so much that He revealed it in the Holy Quran. The Hadith says that the Sahaba, after seeing this, all of them started trying to donate their ring during Salah because they wanted an ayah in the Holy Quran. But it never revealed for them because they did it out of inspiration from Ali. Ali is the inspiration. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen did this, Allah revealed it in the Holy Quran. He didn't stop then and there. Allah said, no, He's not just that. وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فَإِنَّ حِزْبَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ. I hope we didn't get us in trouble. That whoever takes Allah and His Messenger and those who believe, then surely the party as their awliya, their guardians and their authorities, then those who are of the party of God, they are those who are victorious. And we want to be part of the, I'm going to say only in English, party of God. We want to be part of that hizb that is associated with Allah Almighty Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, because part of the group that's close to Allah and is the group of God, because God is part of the group, subhanallah. It's God. His messenger is Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayh. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from the loyal followers of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, to grant us a ziyarah in this dunya, to grant us a shafa'ah in the akhirah. Oh Allah, in light of the shahada of our Mawla, allow us to become more like our Mawla. Oh Allah, make us more generous and philanthropic and charitable like our Imam alayhi salam. وآخر دعوانا اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حج بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيرك يا رحمن يا علام. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا نبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين. يا الله. Ordinaries.